Effortless Qigong. Let's take 3 deep breaths to bring in some calm, cool, fresh energy. So inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. And one more time, inhale and exhale. And I invite you to stretch upward to one side and then to the other. And exhale, arms out to the side. Okay, welcome to today's live stream. Today I want to talk about the importance of resilience in developing a good life and how that relates to a Qigong practice and what our goal here is as a community and as a focus on effortless Qigong. So resilience is so important. I think if you're, for example, going to do anything in your life, if you're going to make any improvements, any changes, if you're going to try new things, if you're going to put yourself out there, like for example, if you're you want to meet new people, you want to start dating, you want to build a business, you want to start a new job, resilience is super important, because one of the things I think we've probably all noticed at this point is that life is really challenging and comes with so many obstacles, setbacks, challenges, difficulties. And these obstacles, setbacks, challenges, difficulties, they come from both internal and external. So without resilience, what's going to happen is that life is just going to push us around and we're really not going to be able to achieve the life that we want, because we need to be resilient in the face of life's challenges. I think it's especially true now more than ever. So, one of the core focuses that we want to focus on in doing a Qigong practice is how we can use these stretches, movements, and exercises to help us cultivate resilience. So one of the things that can happen is, let's say we have a really stressful job, or maybe we're getting into dating again, or we're dealing with difficult people, is that we can end up holding a lot of stress and tension in our body. And what happens is that stress and tension get locked in. Thank you so much. Welcome to the live stream. What can happen is that stress and tension can get locked into our system, right? And when that happens, it's almost like if you imagine you're stretching an elastic band, you can put stress and tension on the elastic band to a point and then it'll snap, okay? So what we want to be able to do as we're dealing with stress and difficulties in life is how to release, how to let that go. And the more we can learn to release and let go in the faces of challenges and resistance, then we can, I think, feel a lot better. I think that's one of the great things that Qigong teaches us is how to use our breath, how to stretch, how to train our mindfulness to deal with difficulties and challenges. For example, let's say you're dating and you haven't dated for a long time and you get rejected. That can bring up a lot of insecurities, challenges, and difficulties that in the past would maybe knock you out, or you'd be like, I'm not dating again, or maybe start demonizing the opposite sex, like, oh, men or women, bad, right? Women these days and social media or whatever it is, okay, for you. But if you're practicing mindfulness, if you're really committed to developing yourself spiritually and as a mature human being, and you're committed to developing a solid Qigong practice, you might relate to it in a different way. You might look at, okay, like clearly I'm triggered or upset here. And you're observing your thoughts, right? You might observe different thoughts, different types of emotions. You might observe conflicting emotions, like emotions on one end you're like, I'm really happy I'm dating again. On the other hand, you're like scared. On the other hand, you have elements of anger. On the other hand, you might have elements of disappointment or self-doubt, right? So as we begin to train our mindfulness through observing our thoughts, feeling into our emotions, we begin to notice how many sometimes conflicting aspects of ourselves are there that we oftentimes hide with social media, with like food or drugs. And that's why I think it's so important now more than ever to use these ancient practices like Qigong, meditation, mindfulness, in combination with, honestly, things like cognitive psychology, which I'll do videos on in the future. And I think there we can develop resilience. You know what? Sometimes we're going to get knocked off our feet in life. Like, we're going to have situations where we get triggered and act in a way that we don't like. We come up against a challenge that knocks us off. And you might say, well, if that happens, let's say you make the commitment to develop your resilience, and a year from now something happens and you get knocked down. Oh, I'm not resilient. I can't develop resilience. Actually, I think there's a broader resilience that you can develop in life that transcends individual events and circumstances. So let's say something happens, it's really stressful, and we don't deal with it well. We can be resilient despite that in our self-reflection, in our reviewing of what happened, in our self-regulating exercises. Like, if we're really upset over something and it's really draining us and it's stopping us from moving forward in our life, learning how to deeply relax, feel into the body and let go of all that stress and tension, to breathe and self-regulate, how to journal and set new intentions, how to use artificial intelligence like ChatGPT to contemplate and get, an unbiased or friendly response back to yourself as you're dealing with your self-doubts or your challenges. I think there's so much gold. And then you can actually bounce back from that setback, that failure or whatever, much stronger, more aware, and more conscious. I think that life is so hard and it's so challenging, and there's so much potential for suffering, that if we're not committed to honestly developing a contemplative lifestyle, a lifestyle where we're self-reflecting, where we're learning, lifelong learning, learning how to use our mind and our body and our breath, like I teach here in Effortless Qigong, we're gonna get pushed around and we're never gonna grow strong enough in the face of life's challenges to enjoy it, right? We're always gonna be being pushed around. And I think developing authentic resilience requires, honestly, learning new ways of thinking. Currently, the ways that you're probably thinking and the way that most people think in society is not great for developing deep, spiritual, and healthy, loving resilience, I mean. It also requires getting experience, going out there. If you're, we have with men and probably women too, we have like a loneliness epidemic in our culture, right? We're on our phones, we're on social media, we talk to people maybe at our jobs, but a lot of us don't feel connected to people. That's something I'm personally working with as well, right? I'm not separate from all these problems that we're dealing with in society, but it's very apparent to me, and I'm making an effort every single week to go out, to socialize, to build those skills, to make those connections, to learn, to get direct experience in those situations. And to do that, it's going to require, for me, to do self-regulating, to do journaling and self-reflection, because personally, I've dealt with social anxiety for a long time. And so these are the things I've researched and figured out. I'm just going to tap into the comment section here. So I see Caesar saying hi. Absolutely, good morning. Positive energy, thank you. Sending positive energy back to everyone in the chat. And Caesar says he doesn't feel connected to people anymore. And I think that's super true. Like, if I walk out onto the street, so it's kind of this interesting thing. I'll walk past all of these people. Maybe I sit on the metro here in Montreal and no one talks to anyone. And we see, as we're walking in the street, homeless people, drug addiction, garbage all over the ground, people with headphones in, and it can feel isolating despite being surrounded by people. Personally, for me, what I found as a way to build those connections is to use apps like Meetup or Facebook to find groups or events that are containers for social interaction and to meet people there. Honestly, there's so many of them. And if you don't see any that you resonate with, actually building one or starting one can be a great way to meet like-minded people and individuals. And I think that's actually the long-term vision of Effortless Qigong is for me to, in whatever city I settle down in, I'm moving around a lot right now, is to build a Qigong community and sort of a holistic health community, like-minded individuals. So that's sort of the bigger goal here. But developing resilience is, I think it's key to doing any of this, right? Because the amount of times I've personally, the amount of times I've had self-doubt or anxiety or felt depressed or felt not good enough throughout my life. To me, none of that actually matters as long as I self-regulate, journal, contemplate, and then move forward, okay? We have to, I think when it comes to developing resilience, first of all, I'm gonna list a couple of books that I think are really good. There's a book called Ending Unnecessary Suffering by Peter Ralston. Very important book for explaining how our own minds create a lot of stress and suffering. Number 2 is Learned Optimism by Martin Seligman. This framework changed my life. So Learned Optimism by Martin Seligman. If you want to start to understand how you pull yourself into learned helplessness, for example, Learned Optimism is super great. Another book that's built off of that is Adversity Quotient. It's essentially your adversity intelligence. I can't remember the author of this book, but Adversity Quotient actually really that book, Adversity Quotient, gave me really powerful frameworks for dealing with adversity. For example, one of the most powerful questions I have now, let's say I'm facing a setback. I didn't get the job, for example. I will ask myself, is this a high adversity response or a low adversity response? Okay, I'm panicking. I'm saying I'm never gonna get a job. Why do I even try? No one likes me. These types of thoughts can run into your mind. Oh, that's a low adversity response. Okay. What would a high adversity response to this be? And then I would run through the models that he ran in the book. For example, Martin Seligman has the 3 points, like how personal is an adversity or challenge, how long is it going to last, and to what areas does it reach into other areas of my life. Sometimes we don't feel that we have resilience is because we think if we get rejected by one person or one person says they don't like our idea, that must mean no one likes our idea. Or if we have a challenge with money, oh, we're always going to have this challenge with money. Oh, if this girl rejects me, oh, women must not like me. I must not be handsome. Bald guys aren't attractive. It's like these types of thoughts when actually that's not true. For example, in sales, people who do cold calling, I'm personally not that good at cold calling. I don't like constant rejection, but I've learned and I've worked with these people who will do 100 phone calls a day, and maybe 3 or 5 people will say yes. So that means they'll see no, 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 no over and over again, and that's totally normal, and they get those 5 yeses out of all those rejections, mean people on the phone, why are you calling me, all this stuff. And that's how they run their business. They actually are aware that most people that they interact with are going to say no to whatever it is they're doing, but they still work for the yes. And I think that's really important in life. You might have a bunch of failures or challenges along your way to building your life, and you might think that that's actually not supposed to happen. What I'm learning as I'm growing and maturing is that's totally normal. Setbacks, challenges, mistakes, failures, they're all just no's on your way to learning and getting toward the yes in life. Caesar is, thank you for sharing some good feedback here in the chat. I think people can resonate with that. Okay, so every day for the next little bit, I'm going to try to do a live every day. I'm going to be riffing on these ideas because right now I've got a library here on YouTube of Qigong routines. And I just finished the 7-day stress reset, and it's free. You can find it right here on YouTube. Go through all 7 days. And that's going to dovetail with this talk on resilience right now, because if you're currently stuck and you're feeling helpless or frustrated or stressed, learning how to regulate your emotions through movement, stretching, and breathing, like I teach and lead you through in the 7-day stress reset, can be a life changer. Another great video I have is Qigong for Emotional Balance. It's I think a 20-minute routine. I've got a lot of positive feedback from. So check out my channel. Consider trying day 1 of the 7-day stress reset, and then make that commitment to yourself. Also check out the books I talked about in this live. Adversity Quotient, The Ending, How to End Unnecessary Suffering, and Learned Optimism. Those books can change your life if you read them. Here at Effortless Qigong, I'm really interested in personally studying how can we master stress, tension, and our energy so we can live a good life. Energy management, I think, is one of the most important skills to learn in life. And I'm committing my life purpose to studying this, mastering it, and then as I'm learning things, sharing it with you. I just completed my beta program of the Master Your Energy Morning Routine program, which was great. It was a 5-week program, had really great feedback from that. And when I'm offering courses like this in the future, I will let you know, but I only offer them at certain times throughout the year because basically I'm trying to become the world leading expert in this field. And so I need to teach, and then learn, reflect, and teach. So I'm going through a development cycle. So I'm making sure that the content I'll be producing over the next decade is going to be changing your life and leading you through becoming super resilient in the face of life's challenges. Life is a wonderful gift. You know, we are here. We don't know how we got here on Earth, how Earth was created, or the universe, but we exist. There's so much fruit to enjoy. You know, music, people, relationships, connection, finding purpose, pursuing enlightenment, maybe. But we also have it's a very mature gift that requires resilience. It requires facing challenges. It requires negative emotions too. We're gonna have to feel, honestly, on this path of energy management and your Qigong path, opening yourself up to those negative emotions is also gonna be really important, I've learned. Because if we're constantly numbing ourselves or avoiding these negative emotions, we're never gonna grow strong, we're never gonna grow resilient. And by no means when we're facing our negative feelings are we going to always handle it perfectly. That's not a requirement. But wading in those waters, feeling those emotions, super important. Like next time you're feeling heartbroken, can you sit in it for 10, 20 minutes and really, with openness and curiosity, and can you feel it? Because I think it's that capacity to feel and be curious that will open the gateway as well to Qigong practice. You know, in Qigong we talk about feeling energy. But if you're not willing to feel your subjective experiences, it's not going to make any sense. You know, if you're stuck in your logical mind all the time, oh, there's no, what do you mean energy? This is just a stretch or a slow moving movement. There's no energy. There is energy, you're literally intellectualizing and creating concepts that's blocking you from feeling your own emotions. That's blocking you from feeling your own energy. And that's why in Qigong practice, we're creating that mind-body connection. We're deepening that feeling, right? It's kind of weird. For a lot of good reasons, there's definitely context when it's important to not trust subjective experience, but at other times, it can be really important to observe with curiosity and openness your subjective experiences. I think that's super important for developing emotional intelligence, resilience, a spiritual intelligence. So unless we're willing to do that and to embark on that journey with openness and curiosity and not knowing, we'll be stuck where we are. So thanks so much for watching this live stream. If you're watching it, thank you so much, Caesar, for partaking and joining in, sharing some great insights. And I'll be doing live streams again. I'm actually about to go live on Instagram, so you can find me at Effortless Qigong Official on Instagram. Check out my routines for free here on YouTube. Tons of Qigong routines that can help you along your resilience journey. Also, you can sign up for free for my Effortless Qigong Elevate video library, which I'm working on. So the Effortless Qigong Elevate video library has many of the videos here on YouTube, plus premium ones that I haven't shared before. You get 14 days free. Try for the trial. You can just sign up and then cancel it so it doesn't auto-renew. And then it's like $100 a year, just because I want you to commit to actually practicing Qigong. And when you pay a little bit for something, you can commit to it. So it's pretty cheap, pretty affordable for what you get. Also, the Effortless Qigong Elevate library will eventually become a community page. So there'll be the community there, and then weekly live stream classes too. That's kind of the vision. And so honestly, by checking out and signing up for the 14-day free trial, I'd love to get your feedback on it and see if that's something that you're interested in. Yeah, if you want to make a change in your life, you have to be willing to commit to it. Thanks so much. Talk to you. See you. Bye-bye.